been dropped in his career?
Yeah, certainly the first time since I've been at the club, and it's not. It's just one of those times, and it's a need for Jasper to probably just relieve some pressure. He's trying absolutely everything he can to get the form that he wants, and it's just not quite working for him. So I think this weekend will be, in a good way, it'll be a relief for him, and then it'll get him back into the form that we know. He'll respond pretty quick.
What are those things that you want to see out of Jasper?
It's just his fundamentals of his game. When he's playing really good football, he's winning one-on-one battles, he's competing hard in the air and on the ground, and then he's running and setting us up. He does lots of good things for our team. We understand that, and he'll be back, and he'll get back quite quick.
Did he take it okay? Was he right with it?
Yeah, no one takes it great. You lose your spot in the side and you're a proud person, and Jasper's that. Like any player, he's disappointed, but he'll respond and he'll get back, and I know he'll do everything he can to be in the form he wants to be.
What responsibility do the coaches take in that, Kenny, in someone just dipping slightly? I mean, you're 2-1 in the time that, if you look at the last 3 games, 2 losses. What responsibility do the coaches have in making sure players like Jasper don't have dips in form?
Oh no, it's our job every day is to make sure players are performing near their best. But you don't always get every player for every season in absolutely great form, and that's just the nature of the game. And I think the important part about that is you need to keep your eye on the ball all the time, and players, coaches, everyone at the football club need to do that.
I just hope someone will see him out of the side and then see opportunity to take advantage of his free agency. Do you think this is sort of that moment that he stops and then reflects on where his career's going?
Yeah, and I think that's, from a contractual point of view, that's not one for me to probably spend too much time on, other than I know one thing: Jasper wants to play for Port Adelaide.
So the theme building up is that form had been tapering off to such an extent that it had to be.
Yeah, I said with him, he had some interruptions in the post-Christmas time in his pre-season, and he hasn't quite got back to where he'd like to be in that period. And sometimes that can happen. You have a run that you need to get right. He just needs to play. Get some confidence, I think, as much as anything else. And, confidence, it's a simple thing to lose and not easy to always get back.
Say he wants to play for Port Adelaide. Obviously, you're confident he'll refuse a few highly lucrative offers that are being floated around?
Yeah, again, it's not probably right time for us to be spending too much time on that, but I'll just let the history reflect what happens at Port Adelaide normally with players.
You've made the 3 changes. Was there a temptation to even, I suppose, make a few more than that to send a bigger message to the side?
Yeah, not really. I mean, this group's been pretty good, all the way through this year, and I think that's really important to remember. We've played 11 games, and 10 of those games, albeit we've lost some other those games, 10 of those games you would say it's been a pretty consistent style of football that we've played, and I think I'm going to stick in that space and trust the playing group. They understand that they have to play well, though. Nothing's given to you, so you have to play well, but I think that's what this group will do. They'll play well.
Was Brendan Archie a bit unlucky, given the couple of games that he played since he came back in China and after that as well?
Yeah, he was, and Aaron Young was when he went out the week before, and Carl Amon's been there. So there's always a slightly unlucky story, but it's a team, for us, it's about the team balance that we need to have. And Arch plays as an inside mid more often than not, and we think we've just probably haven't quite got that right at the moment. That's why, Jakey and Youngie come back in, because we think we just need a bit more forward line pressure and damage.
What about the boys coming in? We've spoken a lot about Youngie this week with all of the people we've spoken to. Needy, his form has been good, but not one of the most outstanding ones in the sample. What's the reasoning behind his elevation?
He's actually been pretty close to probably the best player, I would have thought, throughout the Sandful season. I reckon if you stopped it now and had a look, you'd say, Jake, if it was a best and fairest count, he'd be right at the top of it, I think. He's had pretty consistent footy. What I've liked the most is his pressure has been right back to an elite level over the last 4 to 5 weeks, and he averages up around 9 to 10 tackles a game. And that's what we need in our side. We play our best footy when we defend really hard and aggressively together. Jake will help us do that.
And Dan, he obviously had a pretty good run in the AFL.
Yeah, he got the first 7 and didn't, we got to a stage where we had an extra defender in the team, and now we've got to a point where we've made a change in a defender, so we've brought the next best defender back into the side, and we think Dan's certainly that.
What do you make of Brisbane? Ken, unchanged, I think, for the first time this season. How do you rate them?
They're not, they're the same as every side in the competition. If you let them play at their best, they can hurt you. They've got an elite midfield. You've got a young front half and a young back half probably, and with some real confidence coming out of last week's game. That's always a danger for any side, and we've come out of last week's game a little bit battered and bruised, so we need to respond.
How does it sit with you that Bates yesterday said that Port Adelaide was the best team they've played this year?
Thank you. Hope we live up to that tag for him.
Ken, we want to, well, most people would expect Port Adelaide to get a result on the scoreboard, but they are the last ranked team, and so there's got to be evaluation on who you're beating. What are you going to be looking for to actually say that those signs that are against Essendon, and probably also there against Geelong, have been corrected? They're not going to happen again.
Yeah.
It is the one-off.
I would debate they were there against Geelong. A fantastic game of football. I think there was a good game of football that could have went either way at the end, but certainly their route against Essendon. This competition, I'll say it again one more time, it is so tight, and if you don't play the way you need to play, you'll end up getting in trouble. For us, there's a consistency about the way we play and the way we defend and the way we go after the contest, and that's what I expect to see again tomorrow, and I don't care what colour jumper the opposition wear.
Have you asked more of the leaders this week, Ken?
No more than any other week. They are in a role of leadership because that's what they are most capable of doing, and I expect that they will lead again tomorrow.
So what are the measures you've got in mind for tomorrow?
I think they're pretty simple for us. We look at our contested ball, we look at our defensive structures, and we look at the way we then are able to hurt the opposition. They're not dissimilar any other week. And this footy club, we talk all the time about being hard to play against and being a defensive first team, and also being a really honest contest team. They are the things that we will go in looking for, like they were last week. And last week we didn't live up to them by any means.
So this sport doesn't allow a coach to have a timeout 5, 10, 15 minutes into the game. So how do your players need to handle that situation where they got burnt against Essendon early and you can't redirect it from the box?
Oh no, they've just got to stick to process, and that's what we have to do. And and we've got to make sure we do stay on track with what we try to do every contest. And you've got to be able to eliminate the previous contest, and you can't think too far ahead. So you've just got to stay in the moment as best you possibly can, and win the very next opportunity that they get to compete.
With Archie obviously out of the side and Young and Mead come in, does that mean Travis Boak's going to spend more time in the midfield tonight?
Depending on what we need, no, not necessarily. I mean, Trav's played a role, and that's what I talk about. I'm going to back in what we've done 10 out of 11 times, and I'm going to say, Travis has played in a certain position and a certain role for us through all those games, and we expect tomorrow he'll be playing in a similar position.
Was Whitey close?
Yeah, he was. There's a number of people who were close, obviously Whitey and Dukes.
Sorry, Whitey.
Sorry, Whitey. No, Whitey was close, but again, we've got great form in the Magpies. We've got a really consistent group of players who are competing really hard week in, week out, and that's why it's important you reward them.
How do you measure form with Dougal Howard and readiness to come off a knee to play in the AFL?
It's an interesting one with Dougal because we did send him back for quite a period early when he was coming back in through the SANFL, and we played a lot of centre half back, full back type positions. So we're very careful about giving him the opportunity to just play a little bit straighter line football. And now we've made the decision 2 weeks ago to push him back to probably where we think his future looks and we want, and that is to play a little bit more in the forward line. And last week was a great step forward for Dukes, and he's progressed really well. He's clearly nearly ready.
What does he have to do to prove himself?
Yeah, it's a good question too, because he kicked 8, didn't he? It's just a consistency. He hasn't played much forward line footy, and we think that again the group that we've got playing in those positions at the moment. Jacko's played probably his best game in the forward line last week. Charlie's been in outstanding form. It's a team balance type thing for us. Is do we have 3 tools in our front half? Does Jacko go back? We don't want to. Again, I'm going to go back. We're going to trust what we've done really well over the whole of pre-season and the first 11 weeks of the year.
A few of the other younger boys in the SANFL, Drews, Atleys of the world, how have you rated their starts to their careers so far?
Yeah, been really strong. We love what they've brought to the footy club. Our first years, and Marshall's another one. If you think about the 4 draftees that we brought in our picks and our list management planning, which was executed magnificently. Now, when you look at it, you go, "Gee, we've got 4 future footballers for Port Adelaide for a long period of time." So that's exciting, and they've all showed what they've been drafted for. They've got some strengths, different strengths, but they've come in and done some really good things.
Have you seen enough of them to suggest that they might be up to the standard at some point this year?
Yeah, you have. I'd like to think that some opportunities may come for them based on our terms, and that is they're still playing good footy at AFL level, not the other way. So really important that they earn their opportunity to play, and if they do, I won't be frightened of picking young players.
So Ken, when you've got confidence in what you have at the new end of the list, you had the mid-season break and the club didn't want to do any contracts in the first half of the season. Have you got clearer decisions on what list management decisions have to come at the end of the year? Yeah,
I do. I leave them to Jason Cripps, and I let him make sure he makes those decisions. And again, all the things that we've talked about in the past is there's still I do see there's some notice that the CBA may be getting finally finished and ticked off, that will allow progress for lots of clubs, not just ours.
But what about in terms of, do you know who you need to keep on the list and who you can afford to move on at this point?
Yeah, you're not as 100% clear right now, and neither you should be. It's halfway through the season, but every football club has list management meetings right through the whole season, and we always discuss, obviously, all the players on our list at those meetings.
And understand that also players will make decisions as well?
Yeah, that's the industry. That's what we're in. They have rights, and as the club does it, but as again, Port Adelaide have a pretty strong history.